Welcome to my tour and review of Tropical World Leeds. This is essentially a mini zoo and costs just over £7, which I thought was quite reasonable. Most exhibits were large jungle walkthrough areas. Some of these had birds and butterflies. However, the star of the show was this Morlot's crocodile. This guy was fenced in, but the ones in Mexico that I'll hopefully be catching won't be. These are medium-sized crocodiles and can only get to 4 meters long. After seeing the crocodile, we walked over a walkway and saw all the koi fish underneath. There was a massive variety of different colours and patterns, which was nice to see. Next to them there was a terrapin pond. I managed to see one of the terrapins drop himself into the pool, which is quite funny, as you can see here. His friends on the log weren't too happy about getting splashed. Next was the fish room. Despite not being the biggest tank here, I think this tank was definitely the centrepiece with its stingray. There also were numerous cichlids, catfish and the silver dollars here. However, the silver dollars seem to have some sort of bug going around because they look like they had bloody chicken pox. In the next tank there were piranhas, and if you've seen them before you know they're a super boring fish and just sit there. But luckily for me, they were the only boring tank there. Next were a blue form of rainbow fish along with some archer fish. There was also this cichlid tank here with a nice background which enabled them to hide well. However, the next tank I can't say impressed me as much. Whilst the welfare was fine, the glass was super mucky and scratched. Luckily the next tank didn't have this problem, as these rainbow fish and clown loaches were very visible. Whilst these clown loaches are quite sizable, they can actually grow up to a foot long. But these rainbow fish definitely steal their show with their stunning colours. This swordtail tank was absolutely beautiful. As you might know, swordtails are live bearers and therefore reproduce very quickly. And this tank definitely showed it off. A small reef tank showed off some of the crowd favourites, with a clownfish pair and even a razorfish. However, I'm not sure whether this fish is either an angelfish or a tank. As you probably guessed, apart from the crocodile, this was my favourite section. However, the largest fish tank was a different story. Whilst I'm sure the largest tank is normally excellent, when I visited you couldn't see more than an inch in. Algae is a normal thing in fish tanks, and especially when they have a glass roof which lets all the sun in, it causes algal blooms. However, I would have loved to see the catfish and pacu inside of this tank. I managed to get pretty lucky to get this clip here as the sun hit just right on the tank, which let me see the red tail inside. From above you could just about see the outline of the pacu. Now onto the next section. The next section focused on reptiles. Tropical World had a really good selection of reptiles. They were extremely varied and very unique. They had plenty of endangered and rare species. Algae had even grown on the back of this snake-necked turtle because it was that old. It was very active and keen to please the camera. Going on to the arboreal walkthrough, we saw many species that were adapted to specifically living on trees, like the green tree monitor and this racer. Unfortunately, due to the time that I went, there was a whole section under development and therefore there were no animals in it. None of the free-flying birds or the monkeys were present in the next section. However, the key attraction of the meerkats was still there. A recurring theme with the exhibits in Tropical World is that they're very varied and large. This is great for the animals' welfare, as you could see that these meerkats were doing lots of natural enrichment. There was lots of food hidden in the sand, and there also was a hornbill flying above. There were many tunnels and outcrops for the meerkats to interact with. A lot of them you could see were standing up on the outcrops. Now, time for my final review. I'd give Tropical World a hopeful 5 out of 10. Hopefully when development finishes it will be ranked much higher, but for now it's very small and also reasonably priced, so it gets a mid mark. I'd definitely suggest going if you're in the Leeds area.